Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is the Haitian Homie, and today we're going to be recapping everything that happened in Overwatch League that I think you should know about from February 25th through March 3rd. We start off actually on February 26th, which is a Tuesday, because nothing really happened on Monday. This will make things go pretty quickly. There wasn't a ton of news this week, now that I think about it. But on Tuesday, February 26th, Fusions was cleared to play in the Overwatch League again. So if you remember, he had a little bit of a contract issue after playing his first week of matches, wasn't able to play against the Shanghai Dragons, and that didn't go well for Boston. So after some sort of contract dispute, Huck announced on Twitter that Fusions is approved and eligible to play. They didn't agree with the rules that Overwatch League previously had, but they said that the league was quick to work with them to get the issue resolved. So Fusions was able to play again this past week. On Thursday, they did beat Seoul Dynasty 3-1, but it didn't help them out much on Sunday when they fell 3-1 to the Toronto Defiant. Moving on to Wednesday, February 27th, Decay is now 18 years old, and he's cleared to play in the Overwatch League as well now. Again, the Los Angeles Gladiators are still having some trouble. They're not exactly pulling off wins yet, at least not many of them. And Decay, I don't think Decay was the problem, but that's a different story. He's eligible to play. He turned 18. Happy belated birthday, Decay. Welcome to Overwatch League. Hopefully things start turning around for the Gladiators later on this season. On that same day, the Paris Eternal announced their Academy team roster. A very original name, Eternal Academy. Biggest note is that Swoosh, previous tank for Florida Mayhem, who moved over to Team Giganti as a coach, Swoosh is now on this Eternal Academy team as a player. So you can take a look at the list of players here, which includes Swoosh, a previous player from the Overwatch League. As far as I can tell, Eternal Academy is sticking with the all-European look, just like they did for their Paris Eternal. The Eternal Academy team looks to be all EU players again. Yeah, that's, again, really good for like the branding aspect, is they're going in as an EU team, the all-EU team, the only one in the league, and they're even doing that on their Academy team. So that's a really good look for them, and I applaud them for sticking with that sort of brand name kind of thing. Unlike New York, who said they were going to try to do a New York local talent experiment, and it didn't happen. So props to Eternal for actually pulling it off. Back to the Overwatch League, the big show here. Blizzard confirmed that Week 1 viewership was up 30% this year over last year. That's huge. That means the league is actually growing. And when you're talking about the business aspect, it's a very different format from most esports league, especially with like the team buy-in structure and everything. You want to make sure that this big show that you're putting on, that you're pumping a lot of money into, is going to be a success. 30% extra viewership this year is a great number. Now we'll see if that will be sustained throughout the year, because if you remember from last year, after the first couple weeks, viewership started to die down a little bit until the end of the season. We'll see if it stays more sustainable this year, but I think part of it is there's more team diversity from around the world, right? We have 3 more Chinese teams, which taps into a huge market. There's another European team, and this time it's all EU players. So I think that aside from the other American teams and whatnot, the Canadian teams, which are finally getting into the game, that means a lot for international viewership. Changing the time so that people in different time zones can watch their respective teams better. Spreading out the games across, 4 days, different time slots, depending on whether it's a weekday or a weekend. They've done a lot to increase their viewership, and you can see that the results are coming through with 30% extra viewership. And again, we'll see if that continues throughout the year, but that's a good start for the league in Season 2. Now, on the other hand, we have something that isn't a great look, and it's that Contenders Korea is going to be all online except for the playoffs. And that's bad, because Contenders Korea, or I should say Korean Overwatch as a whole, has always really been a LAN-focused event. And that's a lot because the scene is very much based in Seoul, and in much the same way that American people who live in a big city will go watch their favorite basketball team or their favorite baseball team a few times a week or a few times a month, or that's very much the thing with people involved in esports. It's something that you can go to whenever you want. Maybe I'll dig into this later, but I was fortunate enough to go to an event when I visited Korea once, and it was just, you go in, you grab your ticket, you go sit down, you get some food, you have a good time, right? And it's just the same that people go to baseball games or their high school football games in America. It's just a part of the sporting experience. And when you take that away, when you take away the live crowd aspect, when you take away the production, it takes a lot away from that experience. There's going to be watch parties that Contenders Korea has already announced, but it's not the same as being at the arena and seeing it all go down live. It's such a different atmosphere, and for the place, Korea being the place where this really is the hotbed for esports, it's a huge letdown that the live events are going away. And I'm sure it's because of budget cuts, I'm sure it's because they need to do a cost-benefit analysis, but even if this is a smart monetary move, it's a very sad time, and it's a very, I guess, bad for nostalgic purposes, that you're taking away sort of this hallmark of esports, and that is the live events for Contenders Korea. That is live events for Korean Overwatch. But times change, we move on, and we have to, understand that I guess budget cuts are a thing that have to happen. It's unfortunate, but we move on. And at least they will be doing the playoffs in person, so there's that. So now we zip forward, we skip through Thursday, we skip through Friday, we move on to Saturday. Because again, like I said, not a lot really happened this week. But Saturday, March 2nd, Gladiators Legion announced their Contenders roster for 2019. And maybe the most interesting pickup, of course, we had XQC, so we knew about that one. But Water has come over from Contenders in Korea. And a lot of people are interested in this, that Water went over to the sort of Gladiators organization. When you're talking about DPS play, the Gladiators are very tank heavy, of course. So adding this DPS to their Contenders roster, that's an interesting look, whether or not they keep him or they trade him away to another team in the big leagues. I mean, there are several teams that could use a little bit of DPS work as we move into stages 2 and 3. So we'll see if Water maybe plays the first Contenders season with Gladiators Legion and then gets bumped around, maybe bumped up to Overwatch League for stages 3 and 4. You never know. But you can see the roster that they've got here on the screen, and yeah, it looks pretty good. I mean, of course you have the eye candy of like Water and XQC, but we'll see how they do and if they can improve their record compared to last year. Finally, Mikey A announced that he will be joining the Uprising Academy as an assistant coach. If you're unfamiliar, Mikey A has a long history in the sort of Contenders Tier 2 scene in the UK. He played for the UK World Cup team in 2017 and again in 2018. He's played with like Mayhem Academy, British Hurricane. He's been around the scene for quite a while, so moving up to a assistant coaching position, and moving over to Contenders NA. He says he may talk more about it in detail later, but that it feels like the right decision. So congratulations, and hopefully, that'll help Boston Uprising in the long run, because they're still having, as you know, a little bit of some issues in that organization. Anyway, so here's the scoop for the end of the week. I don't go through all the individual matches that happened or anything, but I want to talk about trash talk for just a second. That's the big topic this week, is Dogman is trash talking, and last week Jane was trash talking. We had, teabagging or tactical crouching during the Los Angeles Valiant Vancouver Titans game. We had spray abuse during the Toronto Defiant versus Boston Uprising game. And here's the thing. I love it. I think it's funny. Trash talk is a part of gamer culture. And I think it's a very valuable thing, because at the end of the day, if you look at the Overwatch League, we don't have like evil rivalries. You don't have people who hate each other, who just despise other players like you do in the NFL or the MLB, where you have these really big head-to-head, just hate fests. Even the players on the other team, they'll play pugs with Jane, right? They goof off, they laugh, they queue up together even on the other teams because they're friends. So when these guys are trash talking each other, for the most part, right, aside from maybe, I don't know, maybe there's some beef that we don't know about, but for the most part, the trash talking is friendly. And at the end of the day, when Dogman says Cruz is a feeder, he can probably, hug the guy, pat him on the back, and be like, hey, good game, because it's funny, they laugh it off, and they move on. I think trash talk is a huge part of gamer culture, as long as you're not being, racist or offensive, like misogynistic, don't do that. But if you're saying like, hey, stop feeding, bro, it's kind of funny. If you play against your old teammates and you pop down the spray of your old team, it's kind of funny, you know? So that's my stance on trash talk. I think it's a valuable part of the gaming experience. We can laugh about it, and I think it's a lot of fun. Let me know what you think, if you think it's something that's too overboard. You know, I can understand where some people come from, that you want the league to be a very professional thing, that you don't want to have to explain why the other character was crouching up and down to your parents if they're watching Overwatch League for the first time. Like, I get how it could be an issue, so let me know what you think about that in the comments. Anyway, as we close out this video, you can take a look at the results for Week 3, take a look at who beat who. I don't think we really had any huge upsets this week. We did have that Shanghai Dragons versus Dallas Fuel game that really could have gone either way because it was a sloppy game, but we didn't have any huge upsets like, you know, it's not like the Washington Justice came out and destroyed the Philly Fusion or anything, so seems like a pretty stable week. And when you take a look at the standings, the New York XL have become the first team to clinch a playoff spot for Stage 1. They're currently 6-0, so it is statistically impossible for them to drop out of the top 8. The Vancouver Titans are currently 4-0. These are the two only undefeated teams. And then, of course, you still have the Justice and the Valiant at 0-4 and 0-5 respectively, still looking for their first wins. For the most part, most teams can still claw their way into the Stage 1 playoffs, and I think any of those 2 and 3 teams technically could, but it would be a lot more difficult for the Gladiators, even if it even is possible at all for these like 1 and 4 teams. But New York XL are the first ones to clinch a spot for this stage. So thank you for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed this quick rundown of everything that happened, and tune in on Thursday for the next video. Haven't figured out what it's going to be yet, but stay tuned. Heads up, next week we probably won't have videos unless I can find some time. I will be traveling on my spring break. Hopefully you'll see some cool pictures that I might post on my Twitter. Follow me at HaitianHomieYT. But I don't know if we're going to have videos next week. We certainly won't have this weekly recap because I won't have time to produce one before I leave. I will be back though. So stick around, subscribe if you've enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later. Have a good week.